Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. So, I want to share a new manifestation meditation technique that I've been working with. And I've had some really interesting results with it. I'm hoping that you guys have fun with it as well. I strongly encourage you to take this and run with it. But the the premise behind this technique in particular is to help you focus and hold the vision long enough so that you can actually reprogram yourself. And what I mean by that is that sometimes the most challenging aspect of meditation is focusing, right? And not allowing your mind to drift or wander into other directions, right? And it's interesting that just about every culture that practices meditation has focus aids, right? So think of like prayer beads, right? Whether it's the Catholic rosary or the Buddhist mala beads, right? It's all the same thing. It's kind of designed to keep you focused because if you're counting the number of Hail Marys that you're doing, it's like it splits your brain in such a way that you can't really focus on the intention, right? The other aspect is that a lot of these cultures also have visual aids, right? So think of again Buddhist or Hindu culture, how they have those very elaborate mandalas that you're supposed to contemplate and focus on and visualize, right? And those mandalas to me almost feel like QR codes, right? Think of like a QR code that you scan with your phone and it takes you to a particular domain or website, right? Each of those classic Hindu Buddhist mandalas corresponds to a particular type of intelligence, right? So if you're trying to download information related to whatever, right, there's a mandala for that. And, we anthropomorphize it and associate it with a god or a goddess or whatever, but it's like a way of connecting to that particular intelligence, right? So this method that I've developed really just has to do with focusing and focusing your intention and holding the vision, right? Because another thing that I've heard is that apparently if you can hold an intention or a focus for 17 seconds or longer, it becomes magnetic, right? I don't know what the truth is to that, but I've seen that out there in the wild on numerous occasions before. I've encountered that idea, 17 seconds, right? You have to hold it for that long, right? But the idea of keeping your mind focused for 17 seconds is a lot harder than it sounds, right? We've all been there. The other thing that I know from experience is when I was a kid, I was a competitive public speaker. So we would have to memorize monologues that were upwards of like 10 minutes long. And one thing that I learned, and this was absolutely true, was that if you read something 21 times or more, it programs it into your brain, right? So the hardest part of my memorization process was just getting through reading something over and over and over again, at least 21 times, right? And typically it's like by the time I got to 21, I was pretty good with it, but that was exact, right? So I'm taking this idea of the 17 seconds, the 21 times, the holding the focus to manifest, the visual aid, the mala beads, and all of that, and I've reduced it into the major arcana deck from the tarot cards. So, what I mean by that is that there are 22 major arcana tarot cards. And because I know the tarot so well, I have all of these memorized, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well. So, what I do is I come up with my intention, right? So, let's do something simple for the collective. Say the intention is, I am enough, right? I am enough. I'll start with the magician. And I do all of this as visualization. I personally don't hold the cards, but you are absolutely more than welcome to hold the cards and do that. But I just visualize. And I visualize myself as the magician, right? All 22 of these cards are archetypes that are present within us that can be activated, right? So I first visualize myself as the magician, saying and affirming and commanding that I am enough, right? And the magician, he's using all four of these tools here, right? The cups, the wands, the swords. So the wands are the imagination, the tool of the imagination. The cups are the tool of the belief system. The swords are the tool of the will. And then the pentacles are the tool of material resources or time or anything like that, right? So I visualize the magician taking those four elements, synthesizing and commanding them in accordance with the as above and the so below. Then I move on to the high priestess, and I keep saying, I am enough, but as the high priestess, and her job is to look for the timeline where it is possible and where it happens, right? With ease and grace and joy, absolutely painlessly for all parties involved. The high priestess has the map. She can see the timeline, and I visualize myself saying, I am enough as the high priestess, scoping out the timeline. Then I move on to the empress, and I say, I am enough as the empress, and I visualize the empress providing all of the resources and material and energy necessary to manifest that, and knowing that I'm enough because I'm the empress, right? Because of all of the resource and abundance. I visualize I am enough as the emperor, right? The emperor making that kind of firm command, putting it into law, but also the protective, structured energy that comes from the emperor, right? It's like I imagine that I am enough as I'm being held in place by spirit, right? And then I move on to the Hierophant and I say, I am enough, right? And I think of the Hierophant as the great teacher, right? So I have the wisdom, the knowledge to do whatever it is that I need to do. I have enough knowledge, right? Going back to the emperor, it's like I have enough experience to make the decisions that I need to make, right? And I have enough knowledge to translate whatever it is that I'm seeing and make sense of it. Then with the lovers and I am enough, I visualize divine providence bringing me together with whatever it is that I'm moving towards, right? Just timelines merging and the hidden hand of the divine and the angels behind the scenes bringing everything together. Then I move on to the chariot and I visualize I am enough, and I see myself pulling the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything, right? They are not pulling me. I am pulling them, right? They are hitched to my wagon, almost like a train, right? And I'm driving that chariot forward and pulling all of these things in the direction that I want to move them, right? It's like the astrology doesn't tell me what to do. I tell the astrology what to do. Very important. With the strength card, I am enough. I visualize basically anything that I could externalize or demonize as an external adversary, basically conforming to that will, right? Think of the lion on the strength card. It's like an energy of overpowering anything that could present as an adversary, as an obstacle, right? I am enough to the point where the lions just kind of bow down before me, right? However your mind needs to take it, that's where we're going to take it. I am enough with the hermit card, right? So I visualize the internal alchemy, right? Where it's not just subduing any kind of wild forces outside of myself, but also commanding the forces within myself, right? Harmonizing all of those things, loving myself completely. I am enough. Then with the Wheel of Fortune, I am enough. I see the four angels that are on the corner here, basically writing down that it is, right? These are the facts. John is enough. You are enough. We've seen it with our own eyes, right? And with the Justice card, I am enough. I see that codified into law, right? As if it's reached the Supreme Court of the divine, and as soon as that gavel is banged on the desk, that's it. It is law, federal law, done, cosmic law. I am enough. And with the Hanged Man, I see all of that energy and pressure coming together to activate anything that needs to be activated. I am enough. I see how everything is working through me, for me, with me to bring me to my highest good, right? That there is no external adversary, that everything is an ally, an allied force. And with the Death card, I am enough. I see this kind of shockwave of permanence that's kind of filling the entire construct, right? Death is the energy of permanence. It is the unstoppable force, right? And my intention is the unstoppable force. I am enough. With Temperance, I see all of that crystallizing, right? Temperance makes me think of tempered steel, tempered glass, indestructible materials, right? But they're indestructible because of all that they've been through. That goes back to the Hanged Man energy, right? All of this is happening for a reason. It's turning you into tempered glass and tempered steel, indestructible materials. I am enough, right? My intention is crystallized. And then with the Devil card energy, I am enough, right? I realize what is an illusion and what's not an illusion, but I also realize that regardless of what anybody thinks about me, I am still enough, right? And that the only person that can play the role of the devil in my story is myself. I am enough. With the Tower card energy, I see any of these programs that I need to dismantling, right? I see all of the separation of the wheat and the chaff, right? I see the Kundalini activation. I see the entire construct experiencing a Kundalini activation. And I remember that I am enough. And then with the star card, I just see like the floodgates opening and all of this energy flowing where it needs to go, right? But not randomly and chaotically. It's like it's moving through directed channels. Think of like irrigating a field, right? That's not a random thing. You have everything going through different aqueducts and pipes and so forth and so on to get the water where it needs to go. And then with the moon card, I see everything being pulled towards this reality where I am enough, right? Think of how the moon is magnetic and all of these animals in the foreground here are being driven where they're going by the moon, right? They don't know that it's mating season. They don't know that it's almost winter. They're just instinctively activated, as is everything in my reality. Everything in my reality is now instinctively activated to know that I am enough. And with the Sun card, I remember the energy of unconditional love. Unconditional means no conditions, right? This love keeps on coming whether you like it or not. That's the energy of the sun. You can't stop the sun, right? It is impossible to hide from. It keeps moving, right? And it's the power of true will and realizing that the energy of the sun, that unconditional love, and the energy that moves through me are the same energy, and I am enough. With the Judgment card, I visualize spirit finally breaking the fourth wall of reality. This is the moment where you receive what it is that you were looking for, and that's what I visualize with this card, with the Judgment card, because it is literally like breaking the fourth wall, right? It's like, surprise, you did it, whatever you want to say. It's the announcement. It's official. You can finally see the evidence of spirit in your life, and your faith is confirmed, right? I am enough. And then with the World card, I visualize myself crossing the finish line. I am enough. I love to tell people that one of the best ways to manifest is to visualize the moment after you manifest whatever it is that you're working towards, right? So would you call your best friend or your mother or your coworker or your lover or somebody like that and say, oh my God, it happened, right? But think about the way that you would say it happened. It happened with ease and grace. It happened perfectly. It happened in absolute divine timing. It happened with tons of cosmic giggle, right? The universe has a great sense of humor, but it was still perfect. It was exactly what it needed to be. And then with the Fool, I bring it back to wherever I am right now. So I'm sitting in my room, right? This is where I am. And I say with that final oomph, I am enough. And I pull all of these energies back into it. And I'll tell you, especially going back to the 17-second rule, it's like by the time you get to the star, right? Because to get to the star, you have to go through the devil and the tower and all of that. You feel the shifts. And one of the reasons why I'm so happy with this particular modality right now is because I've noticed in my own programming that when things come up that used to trigger self-doubt or resistance or anything like that, all of the sudden it's like the red flag goes up and it's like, where did that thought come from? And the difference in my energy has been so significant because I've been doing, what are the ones that I've done? I've done I am enough, I am loved, I am safe, you name it, I've done it. I mean, literally the whole book of manifestations. But again, it's like my number one adversary, my only adversary in this entire construct is the devil in my head, right? And I would say that it's probably true for a lot of us, right? There's nothing out there that I'm concerned about, but it's this guy, the peanut gallery. Ooh, they don't shut up. But recently, they've taken a back seat, right? And they've piped up. And when those thoughts do emerge, they don't stick. It's almost like finally being able to see the forest for the trees, right? Where it's like, you know how sometimes when you hear somebody talking about their situation, it's like by listening to them, you can tell exactly what the issue is or how where their mind is going is not an accurate representation of what's actually happening, but they themselves cannot see it. It's like I feel like I've become that observer within myself, where it's like the peanut gallery doesn't stick, right? And instead of triggering that negative spiral of negative self-talk and self-doubt and all of those things, it starts moving in a different direction. And instead I start actually dismantling that thought form and remembering who I am, right? So remember who the F you are, and let me know how you guys feel about this. And like I said, take this and run with it. You don't have to do this in any particular way. You can use any deck, you can use any set of cards. I do think there's something significant about the structure of these cards, and the reason why I'm ending with the Fool is because I kind of want to bring it back home, right? Because the Fool to me talks about being God but not realizing that you're God, right? That's why you're the Fool, because you don't realize that you're God. And you can start with the Fool, but I would definitely end with the Fool too. And just bring it back to here, right? Because it's like you have to receive your manifestation here, in this now moment where you stand. We're shifting things here, right? Not on some future paradise timeline, not in some future Eden, not, conditional, right? This is unconditional. Nothing needs to happen. It is happening here. You are enough now. You are loved now. That thing that you're quote unquote waiting for, it exists in the now moment right here where you are, where you stand, right? So the longer you hold that vision, it's like it does something to your brain, right? It just does something to that internal universe, and we know that if we want to change anything out here, we got to start in here. So I'm so far loving this. I'm really excited to hear what you guys think about it, and that's pretty much it. If you're interested in a reading of your own, let me know, and otherwise I will see you guys at the next one. Bye.